Hey, my handsome ladies and gentlemen, this is Shmeaty, and today's video is going to be a bit of a shift of gears. We're going to be going over a team that I used to climb over 200 elo. This team went 17-3 in 20 games, and I did want to go ahead and share this team with you guys. I believe it to be very strong, and the team is featured on your screen here. So, that being said, I'm not going to hold you guys too long. Let's just get into these matches. Kicking things off with game number 1 here, and our Skeleturge is going to lead into a Cradily. As you'll see, Cradily is a little awkward for this team, as it can hit the entirety of the team for super effective damage. However, that's not going to stop me from playing this out with my Skeleturge. I'm going to shield up a Rock Slide. We are not in threat of being KO'd by a Rock Slide, but I am going to shield it to preserve my Skeleturge just a little bit. They're going to no-shield my Shadow Ball and go for another Rock Slide. At this point, I know that I can live without being in fear of being bullet seeded down, so they're going to safe switch into their Jellicent. I'm going to fire off their Shadow Ball and switch into my Charjabug, as I believe my Charjabug would be able to take this energy a little bit better. So, speaking of taking this energy a little bit better, they're going to surf my Charjabug, but we're fine with that. We're going to throw 2 Volt switches and then a Discharge. This is going to allow us to do some sizable damage onto the Jellicent, not quite KO, and crucially they are going to make a move here. This is going to be a Shadow Ball, no shielded, this will KO my Charjabug, and I opt to let that go down because I'm just going to get an energy lead with my Feraligatr. They're going to bring in a Skeleturge, and this is not the position you want your Skeleturge to be in. I have the Hydra Cannon. I'm going to be able to make another one here. Not before they throw a move, but honestly, I can just shield whatever this is. Throw 2 Shadow Claws, make another Hydra Cannon for some good old-fashioned croc-on-croc violence. This is going to KO the Skeleturge. We're going to bring in our own, farm down the Cradily. GG's to this trainer. Another game, another awkward lead. Skeleturge gonna find a Jellicent on lead, and I am going to instantly safe switch into my Gator. They're going to throw 3 bubbles, bank a little bit of energy, and switch into a Toxapex. So far, this is an ABA water strategy. I'm gonna go for a Crunch, and Toxapex is so unthreatening that I'm going to massively overfarm, go for another Crunch on the CMP tied to their Brine, and make a shielding decision here. And I do believe I want to preserve my Gator a little bit here. I know this is just a Brine, but I do need to preserve it a little bit. So I'm going to overfarm to the point just before they're able to make another move and fire off this Hydra Cannon. They are now in Hydro range. They're going to make another Brine. I was able to get a shield off of this, but I am going to commit, and they Sludge Wave me there for some reason and then bring in their Jellicent into a loaded Gator. That Crunch does insane amounts of damage. They're going to fire off a move, but I'm just not afraid of this. So I'm going to bring in my Charjabug. I'm going to get a massive farm down on this Jellicent. They're not even able to make another move, and that is crucial. They have a Turtonator in back. This isn't looking too good. Turtonator's going to be able to hit us with some massive damage, firing off the Dragon Pulse. It nearly KOs my Skeleturge. I'm looking to get 2 moves off here. I'm firing off my Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice onto the Turtonator is going to grab a shield. I fire my Shadow Ball off, but they make a wonderful catch onto their Toxapex. Even a Zero Bubble isn't going to save it now. Unfortunately, my Charjabug is completely walled here, so even if I were to make 3 moves, it just wouldn't matter. Turtonator completely walling my Charjabug. They're going to fire off a Dragon Pulse that's not going to KO quite yet, but this next Incinerate will, and unfortunately, this X-Scissor will not, so GG's to this trainer, well played, and I like the Spice pick. Alright, honestly, I did not expect to see this next lead. My Skeleturge finds a Durant on lead. There is a very good reason you don't ever see Durant in the Go Battle League, and it's because it's bad. I'm not even going to beat around the bush there. Nevertheless, they're going to throw a couple Bug Bites, and just before the Incinerate registers, bring in a Greedent. They are going to go for a move here, and I call this as a Trailblaze because I'm like, come on, every Greedent runs Trailblaze in the Great League, except for this one. So they're going to Crunch me, do a lot of damage to my Skeleturge, and I'm forced to switch out, bring in my Charjabug, and now I'm just trying to whittle away at this Greedent. Greedent firing Body Slam after Body Slam off at my Charjabug. I'm going to fire off an X-Scissor here, trying to get some damage off on this because I kind of don't want to see it with the rest of my team. They're going to bring back in the Durant, and here I'm going to fire off the Discharge. Discharge, of course, since it's not resisted, is going to do massive damage onto the Durant. Durant is wildly glassy, and they're going to fire off a move here, but I call this as a double resisted X-Scissor and Livid, and that Durant took like at least a quarter health from one Incinerate, but that's not really a surprise. In comes a Poliwrath, and Poliwrath is not exactly what I wanted to see today. I'm going to bring in my Feraligatr here and go for a Hydro Cannon just before they're able to get a debuff off with an Icy Wind. This is crucial. I need this damage here. I do have 2 shields, but I do have a very glassy Pokemon in Feraligatr. So I'm going to build up to a Hydro Cannon, watch for the catch. I watch for the catch, and I throw anyway. Oh my goodness, they catch my Hydro Cannon onto their Greedent. However, I don't believe it's going to be enough to save them. It was a very good attempt by this trainer, but I'm just going to be able to make another Hydro Cannon, and they're not going to be able to counter down in time. GG's to this opponent. Spice levels are peaking in this next game as we're going to find a triple Legacy Sea King on the lead. Triple Legacy Sea King, of course, is going to be on Poison Jab, Icy Wind, and Drill Run. They are going to fire off a move here. I call this as an Icy Wind, but I get Drill Runned, and I'm just going to fire off my Shadow Ball immediately here. Need to get some damage off on this Sea King. Unfortunately, they're going to shield it up, as they know that that would KO. They're going to fire off another move here. I can't afford to no-shield another Drill Run because my entire team would just get blasted. So I'm going to shield that up, and it is an Icy Wind bait. I'm going to go for the Crunch here because I know the Crunch would KO. I'm not entirely sure if the Resisted Hydro would KO from there, and they're going to bring in a Ninetales, and I'm just going to overfarm, fire off a Hydro Cannon here, and if they shield, it's not going to go well for them. They no shield, they're sacrificing the Ninetales, and in comes a Typhlosion, which is why they sacrificed the Ninetales. They're going to put up a shield for the Typhlosion, but I'm just going to be able to make another Hydro Cannon, and even one stage debuff. This Typhlosion stands no chance, and Gator sweeps the game. On to the next game, and Skeletor is going to lead into a double. Double is pretty okay for me. I'm not the most uncomfortable with this matchup. Although I am expecting them to be on payback, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to no-shield this, and they're going to fire off a double resisted body slam, get your bait called loser, and I'm just going to fire off 2 disarming voices and attempt to go for a KO on this double. They're going to undertap, which means I get a free Incinerate, and they're going to pay back. They got their nuke called as well. So now, in comes the Toxapex. I have 100 energy. I'm going to Shadow Ball, and if this Shadow Ball doesn't land, the next one certainly will. So I'm going to throw another Shadow Ball right at the Toxapex. One of these is surely going to do some damage onto it, right? We're going to overfarm just a little bit, and honestly at this point, I feel as if my Skeletor has served its purpose. I'm going to let this move through. It is a brine, but Toxapex's attack stat is so pitiful that I actually live it, which is a little worse for me. I'm going to bring in my Charjabug here just to get some super effective Volt Switch damage off on this. I know this is just a brine, so I'm going to be able to live it just fine. That wasn't supposed to rhyme. Neither was that, but we're going to fire off an X-Scissor onto their Charjabug. I have another X-Scissor loaded, and I believe this was a CMP tie. This CMP tie is pretty huge for me because this just means now I just bring in Gator, and Gator just wins. They don't have any shields left, so the moment that I make a Hydro Cannon here, they are going to lose their Charjabug, and they understand that they cannot win with this Toxapex, and top left, GG's. Final match of the video, and it's going to be a very advantageous lead as my Skeletor leads into an opposing superior. What's going to make this even more advantageous for me is that this trainer's only option is bringing in their own Skeletor down energy, but they're not going to be able to make a Shadow Ball before me because they're 1 turn behind, and now throwing this Shadow Ball here makes me 1 Incinerate ahead of them at all times. I'm going to call this, they have a lot of incentive to Disarming Voice bait me here because they're now an entire Incinerate behind, as we said, and they need to catch up on energy. I call the bait. They double shield their Skeletor, and they really don't want to see a Skeletor on the rest of their team. But at this point, my Skeletor has done its job. We've gotten both shields, and they're going to fire off a move onto my Gator. I'm going to put up a shield no matter what this is. I'm pretty confident I can shield once and farm this all the way down. Back in comes the Superior. I'm going to make sure that I count up to 6 and switch into my Charjabug to catch a potential Frenzy Plant. It's just an Aerial Ace they were baiting, but I'm okay with the fact that they baited there, because my Charjabug, no matter what, is going to be able to take 2 moves here. So I'm going to overfarm just a little bit, and just before they're able to make an Aerial Ace here, fire off the X-Scissor. This X-Scissor is, of course, going to nearly KO the Superior. I have another one loaded. They had the Aerial Ace there, so I was going to just undertap. And in comes a Typhlosion. Typhlosion does now have enough energy for the Thunder Punch, but it's just not going to be enough. I'm going to fire off my Hydra Cannon here on alignment. I know it's a little triggering to see, but here it is again, another Hydra Cannon on alignment, 2 full Incinerate sneak through, and we still win the game. GG's. This double Crocodile team actually cooked a lot harder than I had anticipated. I threw the team together originally because I wanted to make a new video idea, and I was sick and tired of running Blaziken and getting my cheeks clapped. All that being said, if you do have all the pieces to make this team work, I actually strongly recommend it. Yes, I know a very rare instance in which I'll recommend one of my teams, but with a whole nother week of Summer Cup coming up, as well as the much less accessible Master League, I figured it would be a pretty good idea to put out a team that you guys can actually use to climb on your own. That being said, if you found enjoyment in today's video, please feel free to leave it a like and subscribe. There should be a little rectangle somewhere on your screen right about now where you can click on to view another Shmeaty video if you haven't seen it already. All that being said, this has been Shmeaty. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a good rest of your day.